What's up with the squad? Back with another video. I seen this I was going out. Make sure to like button and subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it right here. Y'all watch my last video that I dropped tonight. Literally just goes to show you that Tim Walz isn't the only one. President Trump also wants Ilhan Omar not only, obviously removed from Congress, but deported. Honestly, not even honestly even arrested, but deported. Says Trump just said that Ilhan Omar is the ringleader. Said that she buried her own brother, and there's a lot of documentation which she is here illegally, and instructs his team to get on it as he appoints J.D. Vance as Frizar. Says President Trump just publicly called for Ilhan Omar to be deported immediately. Y'all can see right here.
Andrew Ferguson, we're going to see the first ever effort in American history to reclaim the ultimately trillions of dollars that were stolen from taxpayers. I believe, I know President Trump believes, that when this theft is exposed, we will see that if all of it were stopped, it would be enough to balance the budget. The extraction of wealth from American taxpayers to people who don't belong here is the primary cause of the national debt, and this is the first ever effort to shut that down. Thank you, Mr. President.
First ever. And everyone else, they've been cheating for years. It's the first ever. And it's got to be stopped. I mean, it's got to be stopped. Think of it, Somalia is a third world, maybe a fourth world nation. One of the worst, one of the most dangerous. They don't have anything. They don't have councils. They don't have government. They don't have police. They shoot each other all over the place. They come here and they steal $19 billion. That's crazy. And Ilhan Omar, I hope this is part of it, but she married her brother, supposedly. I mean, there's a lot of documentation. That means she's here illegally and she's a congresswoman. And I hope you're going to be looking at that, or somebody is, all right? Because she's one of the ringleaders here. She's bad news, really bad news. She's so bad for our country.
She is. And you constantly see it. It ain't nothing just to bash anybody, to do this, do that. So what? They doing it to President Trump. You know what I mean? Every day, every hour, every minute. And they sleep. I'm telling y'all. Much time so they can get. Says Trump exposes Somalis. Literally, they're in the Mall of America. Minnesota. I've never been. I actually wanted to go, but now I don't. Says 80% plus likely on welfare. It doesn't even look like America anymore. It's bad, y'all. It's bad. Wanna drown my sorrow. I can't play the music, obviously, but y'all see it right here. It's bad. It ain't even like it's a race thing. Like, I ain't even about to go there. Like, I ain't about to make it seem like it's just a race thing. Like, reckless, you're like this because, and you have comments like that, but you're like this because that of that race, and it's just a lot. Man, this is not it. I'm telling y'all, this ain't it. It's not it at all. And I ain't even gonna show y'all the video. You got them fighting, looting, doing the most in the mall. It's all bad. It's all bad. And it's sickening. And supposedly, right, there's, a big chunk, we talking about 80 plus percent on welfare. Everybody at the mall shopping. Right? I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Says yet another fraud case has surfaced in Minnesota tonight. Mind y'all, this was just yesterday. I'm not saying these names. All I see is Muhammad and Magnum are alleged to receive $861,000 in fraudulent SNAP benefits. No lie.
Charges against an Anoka County husband and wife accusing the duo of public assistance fraud. Both 52-year-old Mohammed Metwali El Shazli and 63-year-old Magda Mahmoud El Sagar are facing one count of wrongfully obtaining assistance and one count of perjury under oath. According to the criminal complaint, investigators say between August 2018 and November 2025, the couple and their 4 adult children received public benefits from Anoka County's Department of Human Services in the form of medical assistance. They also received SNAP benefits for portions of 2020, 2021, and 2022. The Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families sent a statement on the matter that reads in part, quote, DCYF is committed to program integrity and responsible stewardship of public funds. We have a culture of compliance and continuous improvement where we're always looking out for fraud, waste, and abuse. Fraud, waste, and abuse continues to be rare in SNAP. Out of respect to the legal process, DCYF does not comment on pending litigation. According to the court document, due to false reporting and fraudulent filings, an estimated $861,000 of medical assistance overpayments were made during the time period in question. Investigators say despite claiming their only assets were a checking account with $200 and a single vehicle, authorities uncovered 17 cars and a business account with an average cash balance of $30,000. Plus, investigators cite credit card statements including more than $50,000 spent at a jewelry store and $7,000 spent on travel. And the Minnesota Department of Human Services oversees the medical assistance program, so we've reached out for additional details and have not heard back yet. Live in studio tonight, So Young Kim.
861,000. I'm not, for people to actually support, not only just like around, the United States, but to support and you in Minnesota and y'all seeing how bad this is. Nothing that's just like, oh yeah, like, and I feel like true Minnesotans like actually don't support what they got going on. But for the people that do, like, you have to be real with yourself sometimes. Y'all really think this is something that's okay? And y'all see on how much, not only myself, y'all seeing it everywhere. It's bad. You literally have it right here. This is Minnesota Medicaid fraud kingpin, they say. They said he just fled the country, y'all, days before his trial. He had prior fraud conviction, posted a $150K unconditional bond, kept his passport, skipped his April 8th hearing, bond forfeited, and says taxpayers lose again while he jets off to Kenya. Like, y'all really think, like, people think this is okay? Like, think about this. I'm going to give y'all a little short timeline before we, get on to the next thing. You're a legal alien. You go and you get, $7,000. You get SNAP benefits. You get assistance, with living. You get assistance with transportation. You already not only working and looking like you working a job, but you have all this fraud going on, looking like they actually working and doing something when it comes to kids, when it comes to adult daycares, when it comes to this, that, and the other. They get rich. They get cars. They get this. They get that. And then, things move on and you see, and then, okay, boom, we found him. He gets caught. Oh, he's let out. He gets let out. Then when he let out, okay, you're going to have to come to court. By the time that court day comes, we jet it off. And people think this okay? Wild. You got to be wild, bro. People got to be real with themselves. So as President Trump gives a huge shout out to Nick Shirley, literally for blowing the lid off fraud in Minnesota and California. Check it out right here.
The nursing home business and the daycare centers in particular, they went out and inspected them in Minnesota, and they didn't exist. They're knocking on, there happens to be a young man, Nick, nice young man. He's done a very good job. They're knocking on doors. It's like homes. And they're getting hundreds of thousands of that. They didn't exist. And in California, it's worse. It's even worse. And I spoke with Russell Vogt. I said, Russell, don't send them any money. He said, but we have a court order that we have to. Can you believe it? A judge. The judges are really hurting this country. Our judges, Justice Roberts doesn't like when I say it, but the judges are really hurting this country. And frankly, the justices, the Supreme Court, has really hurt our country too.
I'll see it. And when it comes to the judges, I've been over this millions of times, whether we're talking about things like, we ain't gonna get into that, never mind, because that's another video I want to talk to y'all about. I just talked about a judge. Was it Minnesota? It was Minnesota. Minnesota. They gave a dude it was millions of dollars. 1 year and 1 day. I'm telling y'all, bro. I'm telling y'all. Here you go with Benny Johnson. Says, I just asked Oversight Chairman James Comer if Governor Tim Walz, AG Keith Ellison will face consequences for Minnesota fraud. Check out what he says.
What type of culpability is there, since you've, I believe, completed, or at the very least contributed a report on Minnesota? What type of culpability would there be for the Attorney General in Minnesota or for Tim Walz?
Well, honestly, I think the Attorney General has more liability. You know, you can always plead ignorance, and ignorance usually prevails, unfortunately, in a lot of court cases in these liberal states with liberal judges. But you've got the recording that we've all heard of Ellison meeting with those Somali fraudsters saying, don't worry about it, I'll get them off your back, when they were nailed for fraud. And those fraudsters turned around and made a big campaign donation to Keith Ellison. That was played in our committee hearing, and this Senate had a committee hearing with Ellison. I can't remember which committee, but they played it. So that's something the Department of Justice could use to go after him. Walz is going to play the ignorance card, which he does very well. You know, it's going to be hard to beat Walz in court playing the ignorant card. But you're seeing people go to prison in Minnesota for fraud, and that's what people want. I think with the big politician, a realistic goal, when you say, what does accountability look like? Letting the American people know. We let the American people know that Joe Biden's family was on the take, and a few months later, Joe Biden drops out of the presidential race. Now, there may have been other reasons, but that certainly didn't help. You go in Minnesota, when we started the investigation in Minnesota, Tim Walz dropped out of the governor's race. This is the guy that was just, a few million votes from being vice president of the United States, dropped out of the governor's race because of this fraud. Gavin Newsom is the front runner for the Democrat nomination in 2028. We'll see what happens here. And I think that we've got to, especially the people that watch this show are passionate about, going after the deep state and going after these corrupt politicians. We have to look at, what is achievable from a congressional standpoint and shining the light on the corruption, letting the American people know how corrupt some of these politicians are. I think that's a pretty big win because, it's had an adverse effect on their electoral success. And we're not doing it for political reasons. We're doing it for the taxpayers. That's who I represent on the Oversight Committee, the American taxpayers.
Exactly. And just like, I put out that video of Gavin Newsom saying that things are political and this, that, and other. They love to push that when they're in trouble and they know they're in the wrong for stuff. They know when they're actually in a hole with things, now everything's political. That's BS. Since Minnesota whistleblower who was a forensic supervisor called out $100 million per year Somali fraud almost 10 years ago, and the Democrat political machine swiftly moved to destroy him. Not literally YouTube. Says they all need to be prosecuted. I'm telling y'all, they truly do. Check it out.
This has the potential to be Minnesota's Watergate. I stand by my allegations. I stand by my claims about the $100 million. It could potentially be higher than that.
Scott Stillman was a digital forensics supervisor for the Minnesota Department of Human Services from 2007 to 2017. In 2018, he sounded the alarm in front of the Minnesota Senate and the Minnesota House.
And believe me, Minnesota's government programs are being victimized by organized crime because of lack of controls.
Stillman was the first to blow the whistle on what he and his colleagues were uncovering as early as 2015. Fake daycares defrauding Medicaid for millions.
Every time I did a search warrant, every single time we went through the door during business hours, there were never children in there, ever. It was set up with tables and chairs and toys, but they appeared disused, dusted.
These daycares, is it fair to say that they were run by members of the Somali community here?
Every daycare I investigated was run by Somalis, owned by Somalis. This was fraud and other issues on a scale I had never, ever encountered before. And you see them billing Monday through Monday, holidays, weekends, sometimes 12, even 24-hour billings. and you see no children coming and going. And you're realizing, okay, you look at the logs and they're billing for 100 kids a day. And in one case, or in cases, they identified money going from their bank accounts to prominent politicians in Minnesota.
And then what? What happens?
We started seeing a lot of our cases, we would present them for prosecution, and we were presented with roadblocks. You don't have enough evidence. This isn't really a crime. Questions of, they thought, issues of race.
He wrote 2 emails to his superiors at DHS.
And I felt I had a responsibility, a moral responsibility. I also had a legal obligation. I wrote 2 emails, detailed emails to my supervisor, recording my concerns, giving them statistics, dates, times, dollar amounts, things of that nature.
If the general public knew the gravity of what we were seeing, it would have a negative impact on DHS, its leaders, and state government. We need to have an outside, independent entity conduct an audit of DHS's handling of the hundreds of millions of dollars being misspent, despite repeated warnings to senior management that state money is being used to fund terrorism. Then, he says, the political machine destroyed him. They forced him to sign a plea agreement in an unrelated lawsuit stating he had made false statements, which Stillman says was used to damage his credibility.
The Attorney General's office, the Minnesota Attorney General's office, and Department of Human Services came to me and said, something has developed and we are now going to require you to sign a plea agreement. We know you didn't do this, but we really don't care. If you don't sign it, we are going to destroy you.
Stillman left DHS and moved out of state. 8 years later, Stillman was proven right. In December 2025, U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson estimated the fraud at $9 billion.
What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
He exonerated me in the fact that everything I had said during my Senate and House hearings was not only accurate, 100% accurate, but it was incredibly conservative. I think this is the biggest fraud in the United States history. It's a threat against our country, and most people are totally unaware that it's even happening.
Why is this still happening when you sounded the alarm over 10 years ago?
The politicians have not stopped it. And you can draw your own conclusions as to why they haven't stopped it, whether it's because they're complicit or they have ties to these entities or they have friends who are getting rich off of it. I don't know.
Kristen Robbins, the chair of the Minnesota House Oversight and Fraud Prevention Committee, says if the government had just listened to Stillman back in 2018, 2019, this fraud would not have ballooned and mushroomed into what it has today. Stillman himself is calling for a federal investigation into all of it.
I'm telling y'all. And me personally, I don't feel like it's where I feel like California definitely the worst when it comes down to it. And it's definitely insane. I'm telling y'all, it's definitely insane, definitely sickening that you even had this going on. Says J.D. Vance has just sworn in a new assistant attorney general to combat the fraud. This is Colin McDonald. If I said his name wrong, I definitely apologize. Assistant AG McDonald will be in charge of weeding out and prosecuting fraud against U.S. taxpayers, like we're seeing in Minnesota.
Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the same.
And allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Of the office on which I am about to enter.
Of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Put me with it too. I'm telling y'all right now. I feel like that, man. I know that got to be a good feeling though. I truly know that got to be a good feeling. I don't know about y'all, but truly, I know that got to be a good feeling. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. y'all let me know if y'all think, definitely let me know if y'all think that, y'all agree with Tom Homan planning to deport Ilhan Omar. Y'all let me know in the comments down below. Definitely appreciate y'all much. Love to everybody. Catch y'all next one.